No charges filed in no-knock warrant killing of Amir Locke. So this came out yesterday. Once again, just to remind everyone, Amir Locke was murdered by a SWAT team enforcing a no-knock warrant in the city of Minneapolis. I believe this was a couple of months ago. I want to say it was this year, I think. It might have been late last year, but I think it was this year. My sense of time is fucked up. But, so what happened was, Minneapolis, after George Floyd was murdered, said, no. We're not going to abolish the police. The city council actually voted to abolish the police. But, America's gonna America. And they said, nah, fuck that. We're just going to override the will of the voters. So, part of what they said is, no, we're not going to abolish them. We're going to reform them. We're going to fix a lot of the problems. We're going to ban the chokeholds. We're going to ban all this. We're going to ban no-knock warrants. Look at us. Look at how great we are. Boy wonder and future presidential candidate, just like Pete Buttigieg probably, Mayor Jacob Frey, went on a victory tour talking about how he successfully managed to combat the radical left abolitionists and managed to get real-world, practical police reform. So what happened was, to my understanding, there was a neighboring city, I believe it's St. Paul, their police force or whatever, worked with the Minneapolis police force to do a warrant for arrest. Now, Amir Locke is not on the warrant. He, to my understanding, was a delivery driver, and, was staying in his friend's house instead of just going home for the night because maybe he was out late doing work or whatever, and his friend was nearby, so he just crashed on the couch. That's a death sentence in America. Crashing on your friend's couch because you don't feel like driving, a couple, 20 minutes home. That's a death sentence in this country. Amir Locke was a legal gun owner. He had all of his ducks in order. He legally purchased and owned a firearm for self-defense. Common misconception is that he pointed it at police. He did not point the gun at anyone. If you have a gun on you and you are startled when you wake up because people are breaking into your house and screaming, it is a reflexive reaction to grab your gun. He did not point the gun at police, but even if he did, that would be okay. But he grabbed the gun. He had it in his hand, and for that he was murdered. A legal gun owner sleeping on a friend's couch was murdered. Wasn't even on this warrant. But back to the no-knock thing. Once again, Jacob Frey, after George Floyd's murder, and after trying to successfully combat the abolition movement in Minneapolis, said, don't worry, we got these big-ass reforms. They're going to be great. Well, the Minneapolis Police Department specifically changed a knock warrant into a no-knock warrant. They went out of their way to say, yo, I don't feel like knocking. And they went out of their way to change it to a no-knock warrant. And they're not being charged. They murdered someone, a legal gun owner, right? Violating the mayor's own policy, violating their own department policy. This is murder. Every step of the way, it's murder. The government kills 3 people minimum every day. By that I mean police. Police murder 3 people every day in this country. 98% of police murders result in no charges. Minnesota prosecutors declined to file charges Wednesday against the Minneapolis police SWAT team officer who fatally shot Amir Locke, aka murdered, while executing. Now, they use the word execute for a fucking piece of paper, but they're afraid to use the word execute for someone being shot illegally, murdered illegally. Note that. They're not afraid of the word execute. But they're going to use it in benign context. It's ridiculous. This is, of course, from the AP. An early morning, no-knock search warrant in a downtown apartment in February. Locke, 22, who is black, was staying on a couch in his cousin's apartment when authorities entered it on February 2nd without knocking as part of an investigation into a homicide in neighboring St. Paul. Prosecutors said body camera video showed that Locke pointed a gun at Officer Mark Hanneman. By the way, Mark Hanneman has several dozen abuse of force complaints against him. He has been in the news for years and years, 5 years, 6 years. I saw, I believe Unicorn Riot posted a bunch of information on this guy back in February when this happened. This guy was caught in a scandal, to my understanding, planting drugs in neighborhoods, trying to create, ways, just excuses to kill people and lock people up in steel cages. This guy's a freak show. Justifying his use of deadly force. Locke's family has disputed that, arguing that the footage suggests Locke was startled awake and he grabbed for the gun while he was licensed to carry. Again, the video shows he is not pointing the gun. Pointing a gun, okay, let's imagine this is my boom arm, device that broke off. My boom arm is broken, but this is on my table. So imagine this is the barrel of a gun. Now imagine you are the camera. Now, again, there's video of this. All right, there's video of this. This is not pointing the gun at you. Now, if I did that, that would be pointing the gun. That's not what happened. You can watch the video. He did not point the gun. Now, that being said, if he did point the gun, he would be justified. If he shot and killed every police officer, he would be justified. That's just a fact. The police violated his civil rights. They did a no-knock warrant, which should have, again, not been allowed in that jurisdiction. If someone breaks into your house, stand your fucking ground. You have a Second Amendment right to stand your fucking ground and defend yourself. So if he killed somehow every single one of those cops, that would be 1,000% justified. But he didn't even try. He wasn't even close. Locke's mother, Karen Wells, said she was disgusted by the decision. At a news conference in New York with attorney Ben Crump and civil rights leader, the Reverend, I don't know what the "the" is for. "The"'s not capitalized, but it's part of his title. I don't know. Al Sharpton, she vowed to keep up pressure on Minneapolis city leaders and spoke directly to Hanneman. This is not over. You may have been found not guilty, but just to be clear, he was not found not guilty. That was not happened. To be found not guilty, I know I'm not trying to criticize her words too much. To be found not guilty, you would need to go to trial. You need to be charged. There would need to be a court to review the case, and then they would determine that you're not guilty. That did not happen. Once again, 98.3% of police murders result in no charges. Now, if you want to say that they're justified, if you want to say police murders are justified all the time, okay, then why don't we prosecute and go check this out in a court of law? If I go to Bojangles and shoot someone in the fucking head with my AK-47, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to go to a court of law and I'm going to be found either guilty or not guilty based on the evidence. If you're a police officer and you shoot someone in the head with your AK-47, you don't even have to go through that. So once again, he was not found not guilty. I just want to be very clear. You may have been found not guilty, but in the eyes of me, being the mother I am, you are guilty. Well said. And I am not going to give up. Continue to have your restless nights because I know you do. Locke was shot seconds after officers entered the apartment. The body camera footage shows that Locke was holding a gun before he was shot. Again, emphasis on holding a gun. He was holding a gun. Legal firearm owner held their gun when intruders broke into the place they were staying at. Locke was shot seconds. Okay. Attorney General Keith Ellison and Hennepin County Attorney Michael Freeman, whose offices reviewed the case, said Locke might never have been shot if not for the no-knock warrant. But they said there was insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Hanneman violated the state statute governing when police can use deadly force. I don't care. I don't fucking care what fucking Keith motherfuck shitfuck Ellison has to say. In my opinion, this undoes all of the goodwill that he may have accrued during 2020 and 2021, completely undone. Once again, if he did not violate the law, why not go through the court procedure to verify that? The idea that you're not even going to take them to court is what's ridiculous. Let's assume, again, the law is on their side. The law was designed by white supremacists and neo-Nazis and murderers and fascists as a way to oppress minorities, especially black people, right? So the law is designed that way. So let's say the law is on their side, which it is. In order to verify that, you would need to go through a court of fucking law. You need to verify that. You murdered someone. You killed someone. Your actions resulted in another human being dying. I don't care what Keith Ellison or Michael Freeman have to fucking say. Fuck them. Fuck them. Fuck them. These are fucking losers. These are disappointing failures of politicians. They should prosecute them even if they know they're going to lose, because it's the right thing to fucking do. It would be unethical for us to file charges in a case in which we know that we will not be able to prevail because the law does not support the charges. It would be unethical. Someone is dead, and you're worried about the ethics of my law books. An innocent 22-year-old, younger than me, was murdered, and you're more concerned with, well, actually, the technicalities of the law, is unethical. You know what's unethical? Shooting and killing another human being. That's unethical. You know what's unethical? Doing a no-knock warrant when your mayor explicitly campaigned on the fact that no-knock warrants were no longer allowed. That's unethical. Once again, the state prosecutes people in ridiculous ways all the time. Hey, in my specific instance, last year, when I was engaged in a protest movement over a similar police murder, I had the state throw bullshit, trumped up charges on me. I had to go to court several times. The state had no problem with putting an unethical case against me for doing nothing. They made up a law. They made up a violation of the law. They completely made it up. There's no evidence, but they charged me anyway. And I had to go to court several times. I had to deal with lawyers and all that fucking stupid bullshit. So it's not like the government's like, oh, well, that's unethical, so we can't do it. It's not like there's any standard there. And when it comes to prosecuting citizens, fuck them. We'll use millions and millions of dollars of our court fucking system, court fees. We'll pay all these people to do all this bullshit for no reason, even though we know we're going to lose the case, just to fuck with them a little bit. When it's a police officer, all of it, it's unethical. Can't do it. Sorry. There is no standard. There is no standard. Keith Ellison is a liar, a disappointment, a fraud, a gangster, and evil. That is a disgusting fucking statement. Locke's death came as 3 former Minneapolis police officers were on trial in federal court in St. Paul in George Floyd's killing. It sparked protests and a re-examination of no-knock search warrants. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey announced an immediate moratorium on such warrants. And on Tuesday, he formalized a new policy requiring officers to knock and wait before entering a residence with limited exceptions. Once again, the limited exceptions, you either do it or you don't. There is no limited exceptions. Why? Because cops will always lie. They know what limited exceptions mean is that, oh, well, this needs to be this sort of thing that needs to happen. Cops will just make that up just for fun. They'll lie about the case. They'll add an extra detail. They'll forget to cross a T somewhere. All of a sudden, they fall into the purview of this loophole. You either ban them or you don't. There is no limited fucking exceptions. This is like Boris Johnson saying, yeah, we're going to ban conversion therapy unless you're trans. Then it's just fine. You're not banning conversion therapy if you're going to allow any exception. That's not how words work. You cannot ban no-knock warrants if there's exceptions. Because governments will always lie to fall into the purviews of these loopholes. And wait before entering a residence with limited exceptions. Some lawmakers have been pushing for a statewide ban on no-knock warrants, except in rare circumstances. Again, this part doesn't matter. That might as well pass the law. You might get some good boy points in the media, like Jacob Frey did last year and the year before. If you pass a bullshit, like, pretend, make-believe, fairy tale law, you might. So might as well do it. Pass a law that doesn't change anything in the real world but makes yourself feel better? Why not? The department issued a statement from interim chief Amelia Huffman saying that Henneman returned to active duty on February 28th, but is no longer on a SWAT team. She did not comment directly on Henneman's actions, but said officers never want to face split-second decisions that end up in the loss of life. Are you sure about that? If that were the case, then how come 3 people get shot and killed by cops every single day in this country? If you don't want to be put in that position, you don't become a cop. Once again, 80% of cops voted for Donald Trump, an open, avowed neo-Nazi fascist. 40% of cops have been documented in a self-reported study to beat their spouses. Look it up, 40% police. That is self-reported, meaning the spouses in an anonymous survey had the courage to say, yes, my cop spouse or father or, brother or whatever beats the shit out of me for entertainment. Now imagine the ones that didn't have the courage to say that, even though it was anonymous, because they fear, oh, what if they can hear me in the other room? Oh, what if they find out? This is 40%, nearly half, in a self-reported study. So if you become a cop, you do that because you want to inflict violence on other people. That is the only reason to become a police officer. Locke's family was angry. The police initially described him as a suspect. Once again, cops always lie. George Floyd was, quote, a man dies of a medical incident. Remember that first press release when George Floyd was fucking murdered, right? There was body camera video, government-produced snuff film of George Floyd available, but they chose to hide it and cover it up and lie. And they did not realize that the cell phone video would become such a viral thing online that would show the truth. So they have body camera footage, government-produced, state-sanctioned, and paid-for snuff film of George Floyd. They all looked at it. They all said, this is fucked up. So let's just lie. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. There's video of it happening, but let's just lie. See what happens. Because there's no accountability. It's not like you can just send a records request and get all the body camera for a case or something. It's not like that happened. So they just lie. George Floyd died of a medical incident. That's how that was initially reported. Cops always lie. Every single time. Every single motherfucking time. They lie. Just like in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, when the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department murdered Andrew Brown Jr., they said, oh, well, we had an arrest warrant, so we had to murder him. Turns out, they didn't have an arrest warrant, and the warrant that they had was barely, it was signed after the shooting. Whoops. Cops always lie. When someone gets killed or injured, and they're asked about it, their first instinct is to lie. That is their first and only instinct. Look at the case with Michael Ryanel, who Donald Trump ordered the extrajudicial murder on live television for. Police claimed that he pointed a gun and engaged in a shootout with them. There were, I believe, more than 5 witnesses that saw it that said Michael Ryanel was murdered before he even turned around. He was eating gummy bears. He was literally walking to his car, eating candy, and was shot in the back. That's what all the witnesses say. The body camera footage mysteriously disappeared. The names of those officers mysteriously gone. Donald Trump went on national television and proudly said, yes, it had to be done. Cops always lie. That is 100% certainty. If a cop is saying something to you, always assume that the truth is somewhere, nowhere on the same planet, because they always lie. There is no reason for a cop to tell the truth, ever. Their job description says, lie to everyone all the time. Those are the rules of being a police officer, is to lie. You are trained to lie. You are told to lie. You are taught to lie. That is the life of a police officer. Our investigation found no evidence that he had any role in the homicidal investigation that brought the police to his door at 6:48 on February 2nd, Ellison said. Now, again, there was another thing that said that they shouldn't do no-knocks before 7 a.m. or something, I believe, and they did it at 6:48. He never should have been called a suspect. Again, fuck Keith Ellison, and not in the good dick way. In their applications for search warrants of the Minneapolis apartment and other locations, authorities said a no-knock warrant was necessary to protect the public and officers as they looked for guns, drugs, and clothing worn by people suspected in a violent killing. Oh, I mean, there might be drugs in the house, so we gotta kick the door down and shoot whoever we see. Like you're playing like one of those fucking on-rails shooters like Time Crisis at the fucking arcade where the motherfuckers pop out of a coffee table and you fucking... That's how they view real life. I mean, there's drugs. There might be clothing in the house, so can't do a no-knock warrant because there was clothing in there. What the fuck does that even mean? Authorities asked that officers be allowed to conduct the search without knocking and outside the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. because the suspects being sought in the January 10 killing of Otis Elder had a history of violence. Locke was killed seconds after SWAT team entered the apartment at 6:48 a.m. Body camera video shows an officer using a key to unlock the door and enter, followed by at least 4 officers in uniform and protective vests. Now, again, they have body armor. They've got a bunch of these motherfuckers with body armor. So let's assume Amir Locke fired however many bullets he had in his magazine at these police. Chances are they wouldn't even be killed because they're decked to the fucking brim in body fucking armor. Let's assume Amir Locke got into a shootout, had like a submachine gun, an AK-47, and 10 fucking magazines of a handgun, and fired every single bullet at them. They have fucking body armor on. Again, the idea that they would need to shoot someone in seconds instead of saying, hey, drop the gun, motherfucker, or any other thing, or saying, police, 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 before you break into their house. And it's also, where did they get the key from? Probably the landlord. The video shows an officer kicking a sectional sofa, and Locke is seen wrapped in a comforter, holding a pistol. 3 shots are heard, and the video ends. Now look at this reporting. 3 shots are heard. What does that mean? 3 shots are heard? Police shot Amir 3 times. There's not 3 shots are heard. Oh, where'd the shots come from? Who knows? I was convinced that the individual was going to fire their handgun and that I would suffer great bodily harm or death, Hanneman wrote in a statement to investigators. You know what he also wrote? That Amir Locke was a suspect. Once again, cops lie. All the time, cops lie. So, Amir Locke is a suspect. I feared for my life. I felt in this moment that if I did not use deadly force myself, I would likely be killed. Now let's assume he is telling the truth. Which he might be. He might just view black people as subhuman criminal scum. Oh no, there's a black person, so I gotta kill them instantly or else they might claw me to death. It's possible that this guy is just a disgusting white supremacist moron. But does that sound like someone you should have on the police force? Does that sound like someone you should have on a SWAT team? Such a beta male, cowardly son of a bitch that just sees a black person and instantly just fears for their life. Oh no, there's a black person. Oh God. Oh! Really? Ellison and Freeman said they spoke with Locke's parents on Wednesday before announcing they wouldn't file charges. They, like us, are very frustrated with the no-knock warrants. They, like us, believe that if a no-knock warrant had been used, blah, blah, blah. So what they're trying to do is say, we spoke with the family, we're doing everything we can. They want you to believe that they're doing everything that they can. They're not. They could charge them. Again, 98% of police murders result in no charges. Let's assume they're all justified. killing 3 people per day, let's assume every single one is justified. Just for the sake of argument, you should still go through a court of law, trial, jury with your peers to decide whether or not they're justified. You should have to present to a jury why you decided to shoot and kill another human being. That's just how it works. If I shoot and kill someone, I go to court. I have to explain why I thought that I needed to shoot and kill that person. So how come police, all of it, they just don't have to do that? Sounds to me like if I want to kill people, I should become a cop. If you want to murder people without facing any consequences, you have a 98% chance of not even being charged if you're a cop. Anyway, you can read the rest of this if you want, but it's not that important. And we need to abolish police in this country. We need to completely start from scratch in how we do law enforcement. Again, police as an institution in this country descended from slave patrols. Police were designed originally to they were bounty hunters, to find, kill, or round up escaped slaves. That is the origin of many of these departments. The laws that are written by fascists and slave owners to give them all the rights and power. Once again, where's the Second Amendment crowd? Amir Locke, legal gun owner. Let's assume, again, legal gun owner, he shot all of the bullets that he had available to him at these intruders. That would still be justified under the Second Amendment. But because it's cops, there's one kind of gang in this country that can get away with anything. If it's a non-state sanctioned gang, you can shoot and kill them, and then maybe you can argue self-defense in court. Or maybe you won't even go to court, right? But if it's the state-sanctioned murder department gang, there is no justice. There will never be justice as long as these people are still walking around with guns and badges. It's just that simple.